From tender private moments to unseen antics, Gary Morecambe's new book about his famous dad Eric, and of course, his long-term screen partner Ernie Wise, is packed full of memories and anecdotes revealed by his family. Here are extracts from the biography, and in the words of Gary, 67, and his sister Gail, 70, we look at new insights into one of comedy's true legends. On Eric's mischievous childhood. Gail, I remember a story Nan told me of the time she was looking out of the kitchen window while washing up, to see Dad dangling from a long scarf, turning blue. The boys had been playing cowboys and Indians apparently, and she went running down the garden to the rescue. Or the boys regularly being thrown out of the cinema during Saturday matinees, where they would go to the front row of the circle with pea shooters, to fire down upon any bald heads. The double act. Gail, Nan told me that Dad and Ernie used to drive her mad on train journeys, fooling around, annoying or amusing the other passengers, and that out of desperation she said, "If you boys can't stop mucking about, why don't you work on a double act of your own?" Eric meeting his wife Joan. Gail, I asked Dad, what was it like when you first met Mum? Without missing a beat, he said, it was Monday morning band call and this beautiful woman glided up to the piano. I thought, I'm going to marry you. Later that day, I asked Mum the same question. She raised her eyebrows and rolled her eyes, let out a big sigh, and said, well, he was very funny. I said, yes, but what did you marry him for? Again the eye roll, and she replied, he was a difficult man to say no to. Clearly very persistent. She told me he would pop up behind the counter in a shop when she'd go to the till, and say, you are going to marry me, you know. It took him 6 months to get his way. Competitive dad. Gail, my memory of playing any game with Dad when we were children was that he'd rather cheat than lose. And he'd bet me on anything at any time. On one occasion, there was condensation running down a window. He pointed to 2 drops of slowly descending water and said, pick one. I did, and we watched as these 2 drops trickled slowly down the pane. Mine won, not that I or the drops knew it was a competition. Instantly, he said, double or quits? I had no idea what that meant, but we were competing again. I won again, so he said, best of 5. I rolled my eyes and walked away victorious. His long-running ribbing of Day O'Connor. Gail, Dad told me that in their early days, Day was a comic who would sing a song during his act, as was pretty much the norm back then. Dad and Ernie were drinking a coffee in a cafe at the end of the pier, when Day burst in and joined them at their table. I've made a decision, boys, he told them. I'm going to give up the comedy and just be a singer. Dad's immediate reply was, well, that's the funniest thing you've ever said. And so it continued forever after. I did say to Dad something about the whole country joining in the gag. He said that Day loved it and that they couldn't or wouldn't do it were he really a bad singer. Day had a great voice and a wonderful career. Let's not forget, he sold over 16 million albums in his lifetime. Getting jealous with the family dog Gail, we badgered Mum relentlessly, as only children can, to buy a puppy. We won in the end, and the infamous border terrier Chippy arrived. We got him from a high street pet shop. He was in a cage in the window and I think Mum took pity on him. He instantly claimed our mother for himself, and everyone else became the enemy. Especially Dad, who years later would walk past his dog Basket and say, die, Chips, die. Despite being run over at least 3 times while trying to bite moving car tires, he lived a long life. The two Ronnies' mutual respect. Gary, Eric and Ernie were big fans of the two Ronnies. Often considered rivals, they actually were not. They liked comedy too much, and respected other comedians too greatly, ever to view themselves as being in competition. Indeed, my father and Ronnie Barker were building quite a friendship in the last 5 years of my father's life. They both had quick minds, and a funny line constantly on the end of the tongue. It was heartwarming to see the two of them together having a chuckle. I think both the Ronnies took my father's departure badly. At the wake, back at my parents' house, I heard a downcast Ronnie Barker telling Ronnie Corbett that this would make him consider his own future, and what might or might not follow as a result of this loss. And Ronnie C. was nodding in absolute agreement. It's worth noting that they ended their much-loved series 2.5 years later. When the fun began to fade, Gary, my father once told me that he felt he needed to end the double act, or risk coming to dislike Ernie. I was shocked. With the benefit of passing time, I've come to realize that this was a much bigger issue than anything about Ernie and their partnership, which was remarkable in its consistency right to the end. This was about my father's failing health, and where he wanted to be after decades of performing comedy. Maybe, to a degree, he'd just run out of laughs, or the need to provide them. Exhausted being the funny one Gale, it was the responsibility of Morecambe and Wise he was exhausted by. He felt responsible for Ernie's career, and making shows funny. Ultimately, it came to the point where he felt that all those around him were just waiting for him to spin some magic. Once in rehearsals, he ran into a prop wall, and his heart went out of rhythm. Naturally, he had to have a few days off. He thought it would be fine, as there was plenty for them all to get on with, and he could turn up in time for the filming. When they reconvened at the studios, it was quickly apparent that they'd done nothing in his absence. Everyone had downed tools and decided to just wait for his return. He was upset and shocked by this. Life without him, Gary, it almost seemed impossible to digest the fact that he had gone. I think, on an unconscious level, we all expected a Harry Houdini return, a triumphant reappearance somewhere unexpected, with a little smile and a tap of the famous spectacles, even and all, "I'm sorry I'm late." But that fooled you all, didn't it? But unfortunately, that just wasn't going to occur. Our family remained in a state of shock that ebbed into grief, then just plain sadness and emptiness for the following few years. Forever in the Sunshine by Gary Morecambe, is published by Sphere, and priced £25. Follow Mirror Celebs on Snapchat, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube and Threads.